Hello, everyone. Welcome to the inaugural Confluence live stream with Leia and Sin. Um,
Oh,
yeah, we have been planning this in the last 40 minutes, so we're gonna see how this goes. We've got a really fun stream today, I think. We're gonna talk Confluence, introduce Confluence a little. My guess is most of the people here kind of already know about Confluence and what it is, but figure if there's any newbies and anyone watching the VODs later, be good to have a little bit of an introduction. And then we're gonna talk lineages, answer questions from the audience, and also attempt to use Hero Forge to create a Confluence character. For anyone in the beta tests who have been playing Confluence, you know that our lineages are a little bit different than normal, and so that should be really fun. The goblins will be easy, but if we get into any of the
we're gonna
um,
get funky.
fun fun body types that we've got going on, we're gonna have to do some workarounds, which will be very hilarious. Um, but yeah, hello everybody.
See,
Um,
so nice to see everybody here. Hello, hello.
yeah, we honestly weren't expecting anyone, so the fact that we had 7 people waiting when we started,
That's right. It's fine.
very cool.
Cool. So, how do you want to start? Do you want to show off the atlas?
Yeah, let's show off the atlas. Absolutely.
Cool. To start off a little bit, Confluence RPG is a tabletop RPG that we have been working on for how long now?
Well, it depends on how you want to calculate it. The team that we have now currently working on this iteration has been working for just about 3 years, a little under.
Hmm.
Um, but the entire project had its first playtest in 2017.
Right.
Um,
So
has changed
it has
greatly
quite
since
the
then.
history. I only I'm one of the newer members, and it's been a really interesting ride trying to kind of make a game that's so heavily integrated with its setting, with like the mechanics that have to really jive with the lore of the world, and it's been really fun. What exactly is Confluence, the Living Archive? Um, like most tabletop RPGs, you will get to play in a very interesting, vast, diverse world that is full of lots and lots of interesting anomalies, I would say, that can all be kind of attributed to this phenomenon that happens in Ajuria that like pulls things from how would you call them from different eras into one dimension, one space, one yeah, something
So
like that.
basically, Azuria is our ninth era of this world,
Uh-huh.
and what's going on in the ninth era is there has been some kind of I don't know. You could probably call it like a glitch in the matrix or something, just something has happened magically. No one is entirely sure. There are lots of theories as to what
Uh-huh.
is actually happening from the locals. Um, but it they call them confluxes, and confluxes will pull people, entire places, things, large and small, from across the other 13 eras of of this world, as well as other worlds in the larger universe. Because Publishing Goblin, a lot of their games are largely happening in the same much larger universe with like multiple worlds and that kind of stuff, but can also pull from entirely other things. So you could even pull from Earth or from something else that, like a TV show that you really like if you're playing, or like a game that I was playing in a little while ago, they pulled in 2019 live action Cats the movie. Um,
That's
uh,
amazing.
so like so you can pull in anything, but mostly it does come from the rest of our other 13 eras, and so the world is made up of this menagerie of lots of different people from a lot of different places and a lot of different times, um, all attempting to figure out how to live together. And this has been happening for a long time. So we start in like year 25,052 or something. So
Yeah.
it's been occurring for a good long while, and so you have a mix of people who have been here for many, many, many generations, like upwards sometimes of 100 or more, or
Uh-huh.
200 generations, and then people who, like their entire city was pulled 100 years ago, um, which is in later material. That's not in material that you can play right now, but in the world there are cities that have been pulled fairly recently, and so you have a fair mix of like people figuring out how to live in this place.
Miara in chat is like, not the 2019 Cats the movie. Yes, the
Oh, it's a
2019
cursed.
Cats the movie.
It's cursed. It's cursed. That is also the game that
Absolutely.
is seriously considering trying to figure out how to make a drinking game for the 2019 live action Cats, because it's
Oh no,
atrocious.
what are the rules?
Oh, so we haven't made the rules yet. Our goal is to our goal
To
is to
get
get as many
people
people as we
absolutely drunk.
can to watch Cats
Uh-huh.
2019 with us, and then
Uh-huh.
slowly over time create the rules for
So it is a
um
ploy.
yes, exactly. We would have to then watch Cats over and over and over again, which would be what our payment, right? But like other
Uh-huh.
people would be our test subjects for like what are people reacting to the hardest, so that is what we will make the rules out of. But yeah.
Perfect. Cool. So um the Confluence of course has its own, like, while you can pull from 2019 Cats the movie, it does have its own like, I guess, setting, and it is such a huge world. So one of the main things that the team really worked to endeavor was to, I guess, contain um all of that information about the world into what is called the Atlas. Can you talk a little bit about like the concept of the Atlas? Because there is like in lore, in game, in world explanation for the existence of the Atlas. Actually,
Yeah, so the Atlas, gosh, the Atlas right now in beta test, and what we'll be moving forward with in our crowdfunding in October is one region of one continent called, the continent is Wemrel, and the actual region is called the Motley Coast. Um, the idea for the Atlas is that this is a diegetic book, a book that exists in the world and has been touched by the people there, has been used by the people there, and so it is a text. So it's a text written by the Akari Archive, which is kind of like this uh, institution in the world that their want is to be able to go through the world and put it in this atlas. All the important things that they could possibly put down, and then
hmm
they give this to people as they're traveling and that kind of thing. And um and through other people taking the atlas and traveling with it,
uh-huh.
these folks are making notes. They're making they're adding to it, or correcting things if there are errors, or replacing entire pieces, or
Uh-huh.
adding like current events and newspaper clippings and things like that. And so the layout of the atlas is largely the Akari archive base, and then a bunch of NPCs who have gone through and edited it, and done a bunch of added a bunch of extra stuff. On top of that, we do have the idea that the mechanics team, or the people doing the design of the mechanics, which is a large portion of our team, got this atlas and have added their own things to it as well. So you also have mechanics in there that help to build out the world. So like NPC focus cards, that give you details and mechanics for the NPCs you might run into, or area traits which give you mechanics for interacting directly with an area and the important aspects of that area. And we have a bunch of other mechanics in there.
You will see on the screen that like we're flashing right now. Um, we did create kind of like a how to use the atlas section at the very beginning of the book to kind of like show what these parts are and how to use them. So we have, for example, the primary text and the ephemera. The ephemera is supposed to like they're supposed to be kind of like in world like newspaper clippings or notes from people, like what Leia said about this or that. And they are also kind of supposed to function similar to how a plot hook would function, in that, like here, like we have a help wanted clipping from a newspaper, presumably somewhere in the Motley Coast. And if your party is there, and they happen to find it, they happen to find that help wanted sign, that could be very interesting for them. They could decide to pursue it. And then as an SL, you could essentially design a small part of like your campaign to revolve around some of the ephemera. And yeah, that's like kind of how that the book kind of comes together. There's actual like diegetic stuff in there, and I think it's really cool. I think it's really interesting how it becomes this dynamic back and forth between, um, I guess, like lore text, like primary text, and then you have like the diegetic stuff. Like you have pictures or like some kind of like art piece that is actually someone's sketch of like an NPC that you really could encounter in the game during your campaigns, like this one, Mayor Tinner. And then for like mechanics, there's also certain things that you can only learn as part of your character if you go to those places. So yeah, there's lots of like ways that we have attempted to make sure that the world is lived in, I guess, and kind of um, how do you say, vibrant. That kind of attempt to make sure that um, there's lots of things for you to pull on and lots of things for you to play with, and that like it kind of turns this atlas into um something that's like every time you read it again, every like you go through it, right? After like every instance of you going through it, it's like a different adventure all over again, because there's new ephemera to kind of like look at and be like, oh yeah, I haven't used this one yet. And then, if you want to, you integrate it or etc. And yeah, that's kind of how it works. So the atlas is very huge and interesting. And here is the Motley Coast as we are flashing on the screen. Our wonderful map, illustrated by our amazing artist, Shan Benian. Did I pronounce that properly?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Um, uh, it's huge. um, so we have a really big playground for the people in playtesting right now, right?
Yeah.
Uh, is there anything in particular you want to talk about, like the map of the Monte Coast, or do you want
In
me to
Motley
keep moving?
Coast. No, I mean, I think we would Gosh, there's so much we could explore. I think one of the things that we really wanted to bring to Confluence as a whole is something that can really be genre mashed. Being able to have kind of a cozy game that zombies get dropped into, um, or like having a high adventure that is also about like having like a high adventure thing that you would normally see as kind of antagonistic or like having a lot of conflict
Mhm.
actually being more about cooperation. Could be another way to look at that. So being able to take a lot of different themes and a lot of different types of play and put them all together into one
Mhm.
space. Motley Coast. So a lot of our like as the world grows, as we produce more content, you'll see more and more regions that are vastly different from the last thing that you
More
encountered.
and more regions, like, ooh, what's this, Baslia? Ooh, what's this? Yeah.
Exactly.
Ah,
um and again, this is one continent of I think, oh
so
shoot,
many.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Six. Yeah, there you go.
This is one continent of six, and this is in on this particular continent there are three regions. Motley Coast is very vibrant. It's got a lot of color. It
Like
has
literally.
literally a lot of color. Like we have one of the seas called the Swirling Sea, and it's literally full of color from the soil of the land that bleeds into the water. Um, and So this one I would say like it's got a lot of fallen gods. It's really a lot of magic in a lot of places. But even here you have really different like political makeups between different cities. So like we have Motley Coast City, which is a bartering city. It's a city where literally there isn't any money. Like you barter between people all of the time for various objects, or even exchanging favors. And then you have Crop Circle Junction, where you can play a game that's pretty like the city itself has a lot of things around time because it's a farmer. Um, it's a like where all of the crops of the entire region come to be distributed across the rest of the region and to the rest of the world, and so they have to keep time. They're a factory town, and they have like a lot of our stuff is around elections there. Like a lot of our ephemera is around elections and voting and that kind of thing, and so you end up with some really cool like um, kind of political games or union kind of play. Like you could have union busters that you're working against, or setting up a union, or like figuring out how to change bad circumstances on the worker level. And then you have like Krona, which is a city literally in a time bubble, um, where like time is slower, and so it's highly capitalistic, and like in order to get time you have to spend money, because you're literally elongating your life by going to this space. Like there's a lot of intrigue and potential for like heist kinds of play and that kind of thing there. So even in Motley Coast, which feels like, it is one region, you
Uh-huh.
still have lots of different types of
It's
ability
lots of
to
chance to play
different
all sorts of
stories.
games, all sorts of genres. So like if you're feeling kind of cloak and dagger today, Confluence could still be the game for you. If tomorrow you're in more of a cyberpunky vibe, it could also still be the game for you. So yeah, it supports a lot of that play, and we'll get into more of that soon. So yeah, here's the bits of like the multi-coast, as we said, like there's like people writing scribbles about stuff, and then you get to see like the different themes. And the atlas just works towards trying to mm, be as like immersive as possible when it comes to um you know getting you into the different parts of it. Is there anything about like the atlas in particular that you want to show off, Leia?
I mean, you just hit it with the sky whales.
Yeah, here we go.
Everyone loves the sky whales. Sky whales are giant whales that are also in the sky. So one of the things that I really love, honestly, about the Molly Coast in particular, but also just about Azuria generally, is that you have life that is explored um, in every strata, from the air to the land to the sea, and particularly in Motley Coast, there's a pretty vibrant ecosystem of um, flying mammals or flying sea creatures. We would normally see as sea creatures, but they exist here in the air. Um, and I love those sky whales so much. Most people love the sky whales a lot. They're iridescent and beautiful, and they keep the world's calendar with their migrations. And yeah, that's that's the piece I would highlight. Just because I love them so much.
Hmm. Hmm. So we have like a few comments in chat. Tabletop cinema. Hi, tabletop. What's up? How was F14? Anyway, even when skimming through it with my mind was racing with adventure possibilities. Yeah, there's so much to explore in the Motley Coast, and there's so much to kind of like play around with, and even you could even just take the concept of sky whales and how they're sacred, or like the sky whale migration, and that can be like a story that you and your table go into all on your own. We also have here like a comment from Vanwa saying about that. I was a bit confused with this dynamic. We have a cool city that has a network so progressive that they don't have any money, but they apparently exploit crop circle with quotas. I came up with a headcanon for how it fits, but they're interested in knowing what was canonically implied. So tell me more about Crop Circle Junction and the trade network and the Monte Coast City.
So that
What's
one's
going on
interesting
there?
because the trade network really evolved over time with the input of the entire team, because it was originally just in Motley Coast City, and then it expanded from there to have more regional power. But I think there are a couple of things that I would note here. The first is that this is a huge swath of land, right? Like we're not talking about places that are super close together. They do have um
It's a
functions that
huge
support
drain.
each other. Yeah, they do have functions that support each other. Like obviously Crop Circle Junction does take in all the crops and then give them out to the rest of the region, to the rest of arguably the continent, and also shipping out. But there
Uh-huh.
isn't like a centralized government, right?
Yeah.
The second one is I would push against this idea that because they don't have money, they are progressive, or that there isn't any kind of like there aren't any negatives going on here, because just because they don't have money doesn't mean that you're not going to see exploitation. It doesn't mean that you're not going to see um problematic power relations. It doesn't mean that there's just like no conflict between
And
people.
there could also be conflict within their own organizations, right? Like
Right.
because it's such a huge place, and because the trade network has like fingers and a lot of ties, there could be different people handling different aspects
Hmm.
of its operations. So like literally a different part of Crop Circle Junction could have different views on like the trade network versus like another part of Crop Circle Junction, because they could be handled by somebody completely different as well. And because it's so huge, you know, the checks and balances of how everything works and how everybody reports back to everybody is a bit like, who knows really? Right.
Right.
uh yeah, yeah, I hope that clears things up.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
happy to talk about it more, or if there are things that you're like that also doesn't make any sense. I think the one other
Absolutely.
thing that I will the one other thing that I will note is that I think the trade network, and this is a long time from now, but the trade
Uh-huh.
network might end up making more sense to people once once we get to a region called Lujan, which is across the way in a on a continent called Ricklum, which is just to essentially the south of Wemrel. And this
Uh-huh.
region is, as we have it written right now, which this might change, but as it's written right now, is highly controlled, fairly fascist. Um, and is making moves to expand into other regions, um, in other places in the world. And
Mhm.
so, like, when we think about the trade network, potentially starting as something very small, something that was meant to be checks and balances, something that was meant to ultimately really be a boon and a positive and to the community, and then like
It got
another force that is very, very powerful
yeah,
comes in, and the trade network then becomes something that needs to meet that. Then what
yeah,
happens to that power? What happens to that power dynamic? How does the trade network change over
uh-huh.
time, over the years, in response to that? Um, and how can that corrupt what was once something that was fairly egalitarian? So I
Uh-huh.
think that would be the other piece of it that might make more sense in the far away future when we
When
are
the
able
that
to
part comes
publish.
out, yeah.
Yeah.
In the same way, like, to work with what you do have in like the Motley Coast, you
Mhm.
could also like play out a story that's like you're happening like you are playing through a state of like the timeline where perhaps several parts of the trade network have been, you know changed in a very recent upheaval of some kind. And so now the trade network is still kind of like, picking up the pieces of like what exactly was going on over here and what exactly was going on over there, actually. And like, how does perhaps a story could be told about how the trade network could reestablish itself as what it was intended to be, which was a way to connect the different like areas in this region, right? So again, like, there's so many like ways that you could play around with that, and like lots of ways to swing it. Like, I personally I'm very, very fond of like rebellion stories and like uprising stories, because um it's very cathartic for me living in the country that I am in right now. um and it's just nice to kind of like explore that concept in tabletop RPGs where you don't feel so helpless, unlike in real life, I guess. You actually can like stick it to the man. And that's also something that you can play out, um, using like the concept of like the trade network and like even beyond, like especially if you do like get into like Lujon and that becomes something that you want to explore, like um, fighting against like a bigger oppressive power or something like that. That's definitely something that can be explored in Confluence. And yeah, I am super stoked always to like hear any sort of like stories within this vein, because I'm just like, yes, feed it to me. I need the tea. Give it to me. I
Well,
want I want to hear all about it. Yes.
this stream is only supposed to be an hour, and we are half an hour in,
Oh God.
so we
Okay.
should
So let's
probably move to lineage.
yes. So we were saying that you can play so many things in this tabletop RPG. So let's get to what sorts of characters you can actually play. So let me just like switch my screen to something.
The bomb is here.
Where is it? Hmm. Okay. Let me just yeah, there you go. There you go. Is it
Hey. Yes,
is it
well,
showing?
we're waiting for it
Okay.
on the screen. We're a little behind, which is fine.
Okay, okay, yeah. There's a bit of a delay, so I just wanna make sure that it's like
Yes, it
there.
is in the process of changing.
Hey, Shabam, I see you in the chat. Hey, I know these nerds. I know you too, nerd. Hi, I miss you. What is so Shabam's hitting us with a very early question saying, what is your favorite lineage and why is it Alfira? That is a great question. Of course, like Alfira are absolutely superior in how cute they are. And we will get into that. Cool. So, yeah, also, by the way, we are opening our Patreon today and our Kofi today. So please, there are links in the chat. If you feel like you can support us, please do sign up for any of the tiers. But like if money's a little tight, you could sign up as a free member because we will be giving free stuff too. And like at some point, uh since we are kind of like on a subscription model, you could also go for like a month or two and then like come back out. I don't know, it's all up to you. Like absolutely, we just love that you're here and that you're supporting the project. We would absolutely appreciate some monetary help, but like if you want to just chill and vibe as like a free member, that's also absolutely fine. Thank you for being here on the stream. And let's move on to lineages. So lineages are, tell me all about them, Leah.
Oh my gosh. Uh, so lineages are all of the types of bodies that you can play, essentially. So because we have so many different places converging into one space, to give you a sense of the time scale, every single era is around 50,000 years. So we're about halfway through era 9. And our first people happened in era 5, I believe. Yeah. Before that, the world was forming, right? So in era 5, you finally have like sentient things, sentient beings of various kinds, animals too, not just sentient things. Era 5 is where you get also animals, plants, all that stuff. All of that stuff becomes alive in era 5. So because of that, you're looking at eras that might even have evolutionary change, or massive shifts in the types of people or and their cultures and the way that they live, even just within one era. Which means era 9 has pretty extreme diversity
Yeah,
all
yeah.
around. So that means we need a lot of different bodies. And we have come up with a selection. Um, I was talking to Seven, who is the owner of Publishing Goblin and also the one who created this world originally before giving it to our team to work with. And there are hundreds. There could be hundreds of lineages per era, basically. So we have attempted to pull some
Create
lineages
some.
from what?
We have attempted to create some.
Yes, we've attempted to create a few of them. A small selection which will grow over time as we publish more material in the future too, but we have a small selection here. We have most of the eras represented, or maybe all of them. Here
Yeah.
is are the lineages that came out for alpha that has already expanded for beta, which is going on right now, to include a couple of more. But right now, we have everything from little mouse people to mortals, which are essentially humans. Um, we have like basically furries who are the Bondi Davens.
Uh-huh.
And goblins, but our goblins are a little different. We have fallen gods, which are each individual fallen god has their own body because they have divinity. They have the magic of divinity, and so choose the body they want to be in. And so every single fallen god looks different. And then also like Chell, who are a lineage that is almost entirely made up of clones. And so every single one of them looks exactly the same in their body, even if how they present themselves. likely is not going to be the same person to person. And then this is also complicated by the fact that all of these people are living in different cultures. And so, although your lineage and your body matters deeply for who you are and how you play, where you're born is going to be also where you're born, where you're enculturated, where you live now will all be extremely important to who your character is. So we've been trying to um uplift various types of bodies and what that means for the lived experience while also marrying that with um different types of infiltration, different cultures that you might live in to try and like get out of the D&D race issue to as much as we can. Um so anyway, here are our races.
To before we get into that, just to kind of like take this question again from Noah. One more thing, as you mentioned fauna, another thing that came up is a lack of local small fauna and flora. There are more of fauna than there are some flora. The game feels like it has a huge emphasis on exploration and have botanist and cooking as separate facets, but not a lot in terms of unique ingredients and plants. I would like to answer this. Um,
Oh,
so each section of the atlas, each like area, region, whatever, is actually written by a certain Ikari archivist. And each Ikari archivist will have their own focuses on the different parts of that area, and they have their own specializations, I would say. Like some Ikari archivists could be really into architecture, some Ikari archivists could really be actually into this or that. And so with the Ikari archivist that is focused on the Motley Coast, they had a really intense focus, I guess, on like the peoples and like the cultures, the places of the Motley Coast, the factions and like the soil and the etc. All of the things that make up, um, I guess, like the hodgepodge of what is the Motley Coast. Now, um, in future areas that we will be covering, in future continents that we will be covering, I am happy to tell you, Vanua, that we do have an Ikara archivist who is quite focused on plants and animals and flora and fauna. So in that future edition, um, uh, you will be absolutely flooded with unique plants and animals, like all the way up to your nose. You'll be it's filled to the brim. So it's just a matter of it's not out yet. I guess is like my all this to say it's not out yet. uh, but
I
basically that's like a really that's like the best, I guess, like in-game explanation we can have for you, that like each Ikaru archivist has their own kind of focus and their own kind of, I guess, like bias, if you wanna word it that way. And that like, oh, I really like covering the festivals and the whatevers and the etc. What about you, Leia?
What I'll also say is we obviously are still taking critiques on the
Yeah, of
Motley
course,
Coast.
absolutely.
And
We do want to
so
add more unique stuff in there.
and
Don't
so one of the
worry about
things some of the
it.
things that I think we are definitely missing is the flora and fauna. And there are several ways that we are already planning on addressing that. We just haven't been able to yet. The first one is fishing spots, because we're
Yes,
going to be putting in a fishing facet in later
I'm so excited.
editions. We will also be including some fishing spots across Motley Coast, which will then require us to talk about several of the fish that you could be catching in each of those
Be
spots.
fishing.
Um,
I'm gonna be fishing. I'm so excited.
the Patreon and the Kofi will also be having, depending on what tier you're at, we're going to be putting out various small bits of lore that might not be published in our final stuff, or things that we're working on, or things that um, might go in other supplementary material but are going out first on the Patreon and Kofi, and maybe only on the Patreon and Kofi ever, depending on how things work out as we go. So if that's some of the things that you would want, I think actually, Vanawa, you're already
Speaking of which, because we are seeing some interest in fishing, I'd like to ask people in the chat, how would you like to fish in your tabletop RPGs? How exactly do you think fishing should happen in tabletop RPGs? Should it be a thoughtful exercise of just sitting around and like contemplating life as you fish, or should it be a no? I want to get me some big river monsters and
That's what
catch some
hunting
massive
is for, though. If you
yeah,
want to go
exactly.
hunting for fish,
So let
we
us know
want
what kind of
high
fishing.
adventure fishing.
Yeah, let us know what kind of fishing you guys want to see. And so we would absolutely love to integrate your ideas into our future developments. And you can give us your ideas through subbing to our Patreon and our Kofi. Hi, here's the link again. Check out the pinned post in the chat to subscribe to our Patreon and Kofi. And also subscribe to this YouTube channel because we will have streams in the future. Very interesting streams, some of which involve getting you very involved in like the how-tos of how we do things. That is not a great explanation of
We'll be
the
doing
workshop.
how
It's a
to.
workshop. It's a workshop series, is what I'm trying to say.
We'll be having several workshop how-to series from various people on the team. We're going to be doing admin from me, so I'll be talking about the administrative processes and what that actually looks like. Potentially some of the like, how do you actually budget for something like this, and what is that? How do you set up a team? How do you do collaborative work that is really different than some of the other TTRPGs out there, which is like, here's this brief, please write this. Writer, thank you for that. Now I will edit it, and you will not know what it says until it is published later. Uh, we work as a highly collaborative team.
Yeah.
And so
So
like, how do
please
you do that?
do yeah, please do watch out for that. We have so much to show you, and to just kind of like make sure that we're not stuck in the reads. Let's go into the different lineages.
Yes. Just one
Here's
more
our
thing.
first one.
Editing and layout will also have their own workshop
Yes,
series
yes.
as well.
Here's our first one. I'm so sorry to anybody who has like arachnophobia in the chat. Please look away. But here you go.
uh So this is the amnia. These are essentially spider folk. They do come in more than tarantula bodies. They can
Fee.
be any type of
Fuzzy.
spider that you want. These are folks that were once a lineage that was entirely oh my gosh, what's the word? They were all of their minds were connected. They had telepathy with everyone, and had like a central nest in their own era. And here they are all disconnected. And so how they live now is a lot different than how they lived then. A lot of them travel and are like traders and that kind of thing, but you can find them in any major city in varying types of roles. Hive mind. Thank you. That is, yes, hive mind was the word I was looking for.
Six leggy out. Yep. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Right. Six leggy out. So that's the amnia. Do you want to move to the next one or
Sure. Yeah, might as
yeah.
well.
The
And here,
best?
the best. So these are our little mouse dudes. They're all just little guys for the most part.
Uh huh.
These 2.5 to 3 feet tall mouse people are one of the favorites. They have been in every iteration that we have ever had. Um, I remember playing the 2020 version of this with some friends. No, 2017. The 2017 version of this with some friends, and little we had two of our three players were also Alfirin here. Um, Everyone loves them.
Yeah, they're
They're
so cute.
everywhere. Um,
Absolutely. I may be putting together an Elfira cosplay. We shall see.
Yes.
We shall see. Maybe we will see it here in this streaming channel.
The
You should probably subscribe to see more of that in the future.
the
Anyway,
Alfira pit crew, the Alfira pit crew that will be coming several months from now.
yes.
Will be
Um.
very
Uh,
fun.
yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. And yeah. Oh yeah. By the way, we are working on a pit crew.
That's all
We
we'll
may
say
as well
about it.
just. We may as well
But
just like talk about it. We're working on a pit crew. It will come out at some point. I promise. It will. And then we have the Bande Davin, which, as Leia mentioned earlier, is like our furries. Feast your eyes.
yeah, so these folks come from a world entirely of essentially animal people. And so they can be any animal. This overlaps with some of our other lineages actually. But almost all of them in our art are like beefy boys. There is more diversity there than just beefy boys. But yes, these were
Oh
originally
no, Vanna!
designed for the furry community as a part of representing them in TTRPGs, and we love that. So yeah, Bande, really great, fun time.
I'm waiting for like the stream to catch up to the Bande showing, the lineage show off.
Yes, absolutely. All right, what's our next one? I don't even know.
Um, 1 second. Our next one is the
Oh,
Chow.
the shell.
Wait,
So
it's
the
still showing the. Sorry, the stream is still showing the atlas. It should switch to.
I'm not seeing the atlas on the stream.
Really? Huh?
Yeah.
Is that just me? Okay. Let me refresh my stream. Really quickly. Okay, yeah. Okay, good,
All
good.
right.
Okay, chill time, chill time.
Shell
Let's go.
time. Um,
I'm on a huge
Chell,
delay, I guess.
yeah, Chell were all clones. And so they all bodily look the same. They use tech suits, which is what you see on the right hand side there, to move around and to um exist in the world. They're tiny, itsy bitsy little dudes, kind of insecty. Um, and we're still working on some of the ways that they are integrated here in, especially the Motley Coast, in terms of their history and how we're writing them. Um, but I do love them a lot. They're very sciency, often, and they like not all of them, obviously, but a good chunk of them are kind of dedicated to like um studies in science and AI, and are part of scientific projects that um study various parts of the world, especially the parts of the world that come from their own era.
Yeah. And a follow up to that, we have the LL. I love these. They're
Yes, so
so
the
pretty.
LL come before the Chell. The Chell were originally made by an AI, and that AI was made by the LL in their um era. And so these little insect dudes come from a very high tech era in which like literally the Wi-Fi is a part of the ground itself. It grows on trees essentially. Just because of the makeup of the ecology of that space.
Mhm,
Um
mhm.
and here in Azuria they live life in whatever culture they're in. We don't have a hub of LL in on this particular. I don't even think we have one on this continent. Um, but again, far future material will have a
Yeah,
lot more on
yeah.
LL.
We have the Fallen Gods.
The fallen gods. So these are sketches of various fallen gods that exist. fallen gods are fascinating. So, era 5, you have it's all gods all the time, and then the gods bicker and have a fight, and then they fall and they become fallen gods, and so this means they have a finite amount of power that they either need to conserve or refresh through finding worshippers or finding what are called red shards, which are a part of this pool of power that they had put together um, in their own era with a bunch of other gods that shattered. And so they have to go find these shards if they want to refresh their power in that way. Um, Otherwise, as they use their power, they begin to fade and they begin to die. So if you take divinity as a power, um, that particular that particular ability is one that I have been heavily invested in myself, and I really love a lot because it is about uh, the slow loss of life and the beauty that you can find in that, and kind of a meditation on what it means to die. At least that's how I play it. There are lots of ways to play it. You can also play it as a fight against death, um, or a struggle with grief. There are lots of ways to play with divinity, but I particularly like the fallen gods a lot. And again, they can
Yeah,
have
they're
any body they
cool.
want, so that's why there are so many different kinds that you see
Mhm,
here
mhm.
on the page.
Very cool. Very cool. We would love to see what you guys come up with for Fallen Gods. Vanwa says Fallen God Pick Crew Challenge.
I have no idea. I have
I
no
don't
idea.
even know how to begin. I have no idea. I will
No clue.
we'll see. Something will happen. I don't know what that's gonna look like,
No idea.
but
No
you
clue.
know, goblins. There you go.
Yeah, gobos. All right, so our gobos, our goblins are very similar to in morphology and body to other goblins that are out there. The main differences are they do not have any genitalia because they do all of their eating and birthing and everything else through their mouth, which is always a fun time. You can find that in our atlas, which is I
Mouths.
don't know how detailed that description is anymore, but in previous material, it was very, very heavily described. They also are
We need to bring that back.
almost all of them have a symbiote that lives on their body. This is not true of all
Like the
goblins, but for a lot of them, they live in symbiosis with an external moss or fungus that lives through their body and that they take care of and that takes care of them.
so you see
Um,
they look a little fluffy. That's
some
like their symbiote. Yeah.
Yeah, and it can be
Living on
anything. So
them.
I had everything from like like a really slimy fungus to mushrooms to different types of moss or different types of plant life. You can really think. There's some that like glow in the dark, especially like goblins that have been living underground for some time. Um, so like there's a lot of different ways that that symbiote can manifest.
Mhm, mhm. We have the high end.
Yeah, High-End are definitely one of the lineages that I think are uh
Pretty popular too, huh?
pretty popular and very Confluence. Because they do come out of the mind of seven and you don't see them in other places, but these are beings made of color. Their color manifest in space. They do not have knees or elbows. Um
I don't know how to cosplay a high end. I don't know how I
oh, you
would be
would
able
need
to
like
hide.
you probably like black sleeves.
I guess
And
so. Like, kind of strange,
yeah,
but
probably.
I need to stand in front of like a green screen, and then my my knees and my elbows would have to be green screened out. But that's like wild. Anyway,
Yes.
yeah.
So
They're beings made of color. They eat color, right?
they eat
Too.
color and they can speak in color as well,
Yeah.
especially with other high ends. Yeah.
Cool stuff. Cool stuff. I've seen some really cool designs from like people. that have played High-Ends before, and I'm very excited to see more.
Yes.
We have the Jurnang now.
Yeah, so the Journeying are almost all of them travel with the Sky Whales. This is definitely one of our lineages that has stayed most together. So they were almost all pulled at the same time with Sky Whales in their own world, which is the world of Sky Whales. They hunted large beasts culturally, so they would like hunt Sky Whales and now live in symbiosis with the Sky Whales here, protecting them and also harvesting from them in order to live. So they um, have a fairly closed society. They are very protective of the sky whales. They do work with um, other peoples, but for the most part have stayed in their own enclave. They are also rabbit fish people.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Rabbit fit. They have gills,
They have
and then
gills.
they have rabbit ears and kind of a rabbit face, and technically the rabbit leggies. But yeah, they have scales.
I don't know if they
Do
have
they have
scales, but they
scales? I'm
do.
not sure.
They can breathe underwater and live underwater when
Yeah,
necessary.
they have gills basically. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Are they good swimmers?
Yes.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. Mirar,
Yeah. So Marar are kind of a snake people.
kind
They
of
come from a from
with
a
like
era of
mushroomy
high,
faces.
yeah, mushroomy faces kind of. They have different masks that they are born with that represent various things in their own world. In Confluence, I believe those masks have changed some. Um I'm not as much up on the lore of Mirar as I probably should be right now, but they are very large people, and uh, are in their own time very highly, like their entire world is highly governed, and they come from a world of technology similar to like how we envision a high tech culture of our own time.
We have a few questions about Jurnang here. I am interested to know where the little extra limbs on the shoulders idea came from.
I actually have no idea.
It's a
That's
mystery.
got to be a seven thing because that feels like a seven thing.
You know,
Uh,
I bet you a certain little Elfira will have some theories
hey, there you go.
in the future. Yeah,
See
yeah.
a min report in the future.
So for context, we are releasing these things called the Min reports. And Min is a funny little Alfira who travels all around Ajuria, and they have like this blog, this like diary journal thing that they publish, which will be published in our Patreons and Kofis. Um, and I think the first one should be out now.
Yes.
And they have like lots of very interesting theories on how the world of Ajuria works, and they go full like conspiracy theory board on it with their own like theories and their own like ideas and whatnot. So like, you know, you never know. Maybe we will have a theory about the little extra limbs in the future. Vano was also saying that they were thinking that Jurnang are catfish. So that's also an idea. So Mirar,
Absolutely.
more about. Do you have any more to add about Mirar, or
I don't right now, although
okay?
I do think we will have more in the future for sure.
Yes. So about the Mirren,
The
I
Mirren
just
are
saw it.
hilarious. None of these pieces of art have their tongue, which I think is very funny. So the Mirren have evolved to have a tongue that has a human face, or
Yeah.
a
So
morphologically like
human looking.
mortal looking thing that does speak, that does have the
It's
ability
it's
to
like an
speak.
anglerfish, but it's a human head instead of a light at the end. I don't know. I don't,
They
I don't know if
are
this is helping. But
they are obviously underwater people, and they're one of our few lineages that only exist. Like they can't, they are not, cannot come on land for long periods of time. Um, they oh gosh, what do I know about Mirren? It's been so long since I have been up to date on
They
Mirren.
look like barracudas to me. I can't look at them but and not think barracuda. But I know that
The response of
the,
"What?" question mark is very good from chat. Um, yes, Mirren are
what in the Eldritch horror?
wild.
That's a good way to put it.
But they are so on the whole, culturally, they are very sweet. They are very
Yeah.
helpful. They were in fact the lineage that saved the original pulled people in the very, very first years,
Uh-huh.
when there was very little land. It was all water. Um, in the very beginning of the era, it was the Mirren who were already here from the previous era and who helped the original people 25,000 years ago um, to exist here and to find land and to save them from drowning. So the Mirren have a very long history um, in Azuria generally and in Confluence as a whole. And yeah,
Make me think of like because the way that they look is very gentle, right? So they make me think of like the community grandpa that just kind of
yeah, a lot. I mean, they are a full society. You will obviously have like evil Mirren or whatever. like,
uh-huh.
um, but yeah, they are not. They in concept are Eldritch horror. In actuality, are a little less
Oh, sorry.
scary. No, you're fine. We can move on to Salients. I don't mind.
I
Also,
would I
Publishing Goblin, which is being run by Candy right now, they do have an underwater district in Motley Coast City. So Motley Coast City is two-tiered. It also has an underwater portion, and the Mirren do occupy that space.
very briefly like show a Murin with the tongue so that people can understand what we're
Sure.
talking
Yes,
about.
absolutely. Let's go. Let's do it.
Uh, I should have used this art in hindsight, but wait, it's
I forgot we
the
have
one.
one with arms.
It's the one that's in the file,
Oh,
so I'm using it.
yes. Yeah. There's another one with a much thinner tongue that has a face on it, too. But yes. Yeah, this is that's such a good one. I love that.
Let me.
The reactions in chat are perfect. Um,
The one with the thin what? I don't
oh
remember
no,
where that
with a
is.
thin tongue. It has
A thin.
a
Oh
thinner
no, I
tongue.
don't
I
have
don't
that
know
one
where
on
I don't know where the
my.
art is right at this
I don't have the
moment.
download for that one,
That's
but
okay. It's all
yep.
good. Oh, your reactions in chat are absolutely
It's the best.
hysterical, and I love it.
My mind can't comprehend. So I'll ask it before chat can. Does the being live the mouth, the tongue, does it have a mind of its
You said chat
own?
should answer that, so I will let chat answer that.
So,
Perfect. Thank
chat,
you
do you
so.
think that the tongue has a mind of its own? Considering this thing apparently can hold an entire feathered pencil quill thing and a piece of paper. But yeah, let me switch back to the lineage show off. Okay, we're back.
Uh,
And then Salient.
Aliens, yeah. So we are at the hour mark. Do we want to keep going through our lineages and get them all in this video? All the ones that we have right now?
And there's only like a few bit more, I think.
Cool. Great. Yeah, so we will finish there, but we should actually do a stream where we go on Hero Forge and make some stuff, because I do think that would be hilarious
Yeah,
and good.
absolutely. Yeah,
So
yeah.
we will come back for that. Um, anyway, Stallions. Stallions are lizard people that live underwater and above. So There's a word for that, but I don't remember what it is. Um,
Amphibious?
and yes. Well,
There
yes.
you go.
Yes,
I
they are
think so.
amphibians. They can often live underground or in cave systems. They also just live in the water, especially. We have some salient communities or communities that include a lot of salients in the swirling sea and the various island communities that are there, or the flot communities. Flots are islands that float, um, and some of them float literally up and down, and so you have
Mhm.
different because of the gravity tides. You have different times of the year where flots are above water or below
Yeah,
water,
there's gravity
um,
seasons.
and and so a lot of Salians, Mirren, and other folks um, who live in the water are out in our swirling sea island communities. Yeah, Salians. They're
Aliens are cool.
beefy boys, and they are very cool. I love all the art of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and I think
Oh,
this is the last one on the slides, the Umbrans.
okay. Yeah. Umbrans are
Where do you begin?
where do you begin? So okay, so the Marar and the Umbrans come from the same era, and in that era,
They're
they're
kind
like
of
they're a part of
switched
two
versions of each
different
other.
kinda. They're two different communities that are deeply tied. So um when
When
the
one
Umbrans go
sleeps,
to
the other
sleep, the Marars wake up and vice versa. And they have
Mhm.
a soul tie to between one
Each
Umbran
other.
and one Marar. Um in their home era. That is not as much the case here. Um because there they have a space called the dream time, and it is through that that you get this soul connection, which is much harder to emulate here, in Algeria. So umrans use like a shadow, they're made of shadow, um and that's like the swirly stuff that you see coming off of them. They wear different masks. They often or never, I can't remember. They don't have mouths, and they speak directly through various tap speaks on the various pieces of their body that can make tap sounds that are of a type of material that really like resonate sound. So they have various types of tap speak that produce different sounds that mean different things, and that is generally how they communicate. They have a lot of different masks. They are born with a particular mask, but that mask can change over time,
Mhm.
as they grow as people. They can also modify them themselves, or they can be modified as they change. We have a question about the reflected.
Yeah, we do. Sylvan was asking if we are going to show the reflected or if they look just the same as the reflected. And
Mm,
we do have an answer, but basically, we are also still um, working on art for a lot of the other lineages that we have not displayed here. Like if we do go back to the very beginning, because like Umbran's the last one anyway, just like to get into this a little bit. We don't have like a special slide for like the Wen, for example, and the Unlelo, the Faithing. We also don't have a special slide for the Mortals yet. And yeah, same with like the Reflected. There's gonna be a few more coming at some point. So watch out for all of that when it does come out. Um,
and the
yeah,
Gen as well do not have a
yeah, the
slide
Gen. Yeah,
right
sorry.
now. Um,
Yeah. I mean, look at the Wen, right? Look at those funky looking dudes.
our beautiful slug people.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you know on TikTok where you can have that that filter that shows you what other people see when they look at you, and you're like, "What is that? What do you mean?" Because you only ever see yourself in the mirror, and the mirror shows a flipped version of you, right? So
Yeah.
you like, especially if you have various like unsymmetrical facial features, you might look really different to yourself in that kind of reverse image than you do when you look in the mirror or at a photo. So the same thing can be said about the reflected, I think, is what we're going with now, where it's like they are that person. And most people are not going to notice even that they're reflected. They look exactly like this other person, but they do look like a mirror image, and that is not always exact, right? And so that's to give you a sense of the reflected, but they do look like anyone,
whoever they
whatever.
are reflecting.
Yeah, whoever. As soon as a person looks in a mirror for the first time, they have now a reflected that exists in the reflected world.
Mhm.
Um, so
Yeah,
anyway,
it's a little uncanny valley. Just like imagine
yes,
an uncanny valley version of whoever it is that's being reflected. Cool. So those are all of the playable lineages at the moment. Um, uh, there's going to be more in the future as we release stuff, and since we are getting to like the hour mark, should we just do the Hero Forge like on a future stream,
I think so.
or
We should, yeah, because we are already
okay,
12 minutes over our hour. So I think that
okay,
probably we
cool,
should
cool,
do the
cool.
Hero Forge on a different,
Okay,
on a
okay, okay.
future stream, which I'm totally here
So
for. We should do that.
in a future stream, we will be using the Hero Forge app, web app, to try to create some of the lineages that we have here. We would love for you to suggest which lineage you'd like us to try to create. So we'll probably make a post on our different social medias asking any of you. We could probably also make a poll here on our YouTube for whichever lineage you'd want us to make on Hero Forge. It's going to be a fun time. We'll tell you when that happens and what other streams we have in the future. We'll probably be put up on our Patreon and our Kofi's and our socials. Yeah, so thank you so much to everybody who has been watching. This has been a very exciting launch. I hope that you support us. We hope that you um, get others interested and excited. We do have a QR code to the backer kit that we will be launching in October. So please pre-save us over there so that you know exactly when we launch. And for any more future updates, fun lore bits, releases, and etc., we will be having them on our socials, our Patreon and Kofi. To get all of the exclusive stuff, you will need to be subscribed to one of our tiers, but we will be releasing free stuff as well. So if uh, if that's not possible for you right now, we would welcome you to come in. We are making our Discord a community Discord, so y'all can also come and hang out. One of our first things that we're gonna be also like releasing soon is we're gonna be taking submissions of like your pets, like for your like photos of your pets, and one of our archivists is gonna make like a rating based on the pet that you submit. So please do submit your cute pets, and we'll post about them. And yeah, anything else to add, Leia, about like?
Um, I mean, like, and if we want to go through a little bit about what we're putting out, the free stuff is going to be a good portion of our newsletter that'll be going out monthly. It's going to be free. We're also going to be putting out a desktop backgrounds that are kind of be
Art, yeah.
rotating, that you can download monthly, as well as a couple of other things.
The pick
I can't
crew will be free.
The Pick Crew will also be free, and we'll be making updates and announcements about that. We're starting with goblins, so
Yeah, Goblin pick crew.
look out for some announcements about that.
Mhm.
Um, And then our tiers will include expanded newsletters, an expanded newsletter that includes a lot like some lore. And it's called the Update from the Akari Archive. So you'll get more lore about various things, more hooks for your games, things like that. And then let's see what else. We're also doing the min reports will be a part of the Patreon and Kofi, as will the Small in review. So Small is a fallen god of sleep who does in reviews from across Azuria. Those will also come with new NPC focuses and as well as new location focuses for the inn and the innkeep or the bartender, whoever's most important in that space. Whoever Small thinks is interesting. Um,
We're
and
also
there are
going
a
to be
few.
having tarot card reads
Yep.
the beginning of the month. So in July, we'll start them in July.
So those will be directly from NPCs in
Yes.
Azuria, and also the workshop streams will be starting at the end of
Soon.
June, I
Yeah,
believe,
end of
is
June.
our very first one, and it'll be a layout. The first episode of a layout, the way layout workshop from our very lovely layout artist Chris. Um, that first one will be free, and then after that, it'll be if you're like, hey, I really want more of this. There's, I believe, you need to be tier 3 editor to get to be a part of the streams after that. Um, yeah, so a lot of really fun stuff coming. A lot of
We have
really
so much to
worthwhile.
offer. I hope you
Yeah.
support us.
Um, and even if it's just sharing the backer kit link with some friends, that does
Yes.
so much for us, honestly.
Yes.
Um, so
Talk about it. Tell your friends about it. Share the
yeah.
backer kit link. Share our socials. Share the Patreon and Kofi. Thank you so much. Subscribe, ring the bell, etc. All of that stuff.
Yes. Also, thank you so much, everyone, for coming to this very first stream. I know that for a lot of you, you kind of found out like 30 minutes before
That
it
day.
started. So thank you
We
for
will
showing
try
up.
to be a little better about that in the future.
Yes, you will be getting updates sooner, for sure. But anyway, thank you all so much. We will get out of here, and I will see you later.
Bye bye.